Welcome to the first episode of The Grumpy Gentleman Speaks. I considered myself for a long time a diehard Democrat. And I think over the years, as I've gotten older, my views have changed on certain things, right? Obviously, as this election has taken place, I believe that the government has failed the citizens of America. We've missed the mark. And so this week, you see the title, and I gotta be honest with you, man. It's like the death of woke, the merit-based system. White people are 70, in America, they are 70% of the population. Black people are 13%. It doesn't matter how nicely you explain it. It doesn't matter how you break down the struggle of the black and brown folks. Y'all just don't want to hear it. I'll be better off telling you to diversify your financial portfolio than trying to convince you to save diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you know what's funny? A lot of y'all, the white folks, I'm talking about the ones, the holdbackers, y'all think the E, y'all think we think it stands for equality. And that's the trick. Because we know it stands for equity. We just trying to get a fair shot at opportunity, man. But in y'all heads, y'all think we trying to control the outcome. The message that Martin Luther King was saying toward his death is that it's one thing for us to be able to go into a restaurant and sit down and sit anywhere we want. And it's another thing to actually own the restaurant. You see the difference? The only way that you can measure equality was you would have to be equal to a white person. So you basing your education dreams off of how educated a white person is, your business acumen, how well a white person does business, banking system, all of that. You got to think about that, man. So everything woke got to go. Y'all want to hurry up and mention a merit-based system, which is just code for if you're white, here's your golden ticket. Have you noticed when black folks talk about race issues, we don't just say black people, we say black and brown people. We include everybody. That's Hispanics, that's Asians. We include all the minorities. Somebody need to pass that memo to the Hispanic folks that's pushing that black folks have abandoned them during this mass deportation mess that's going on. I don't like it. Did you know this? Did you know that 80% of black voters backed Kamala Harris? So what you're not gonna do is try to pile on black folks like we the problem. And look, 45% of Hispanic voters voted for 47. And then y'all feeling betrayed. But I'm not gonna sit here and say, y'all deserve this. That'll be ignorant. Meanwhile, Chicago's spending over $400 million to house migrants. And let's be honest, that gotta be wearing thin too. Every situation is unique, right? Obviously, we don't want murderers and killers and rapists. We don't want the worst of the worst over here. Chicago spending this much. New York done spent this much. They handing out vouchers and all this kind of stuff. And then you tack on how much debt America's in. So all you got to do is just pile on, and there go your justification. You could do away with the human side of it. Man, we shouldn't be rounding up people like cattle. You got to really, these are still people, man. People still deserve dignity, right? Now I'm looking at the price of eggs, the price of gas. 47, he goes in there. He's doing all these executive orders. He get rid of all this DEI stuff. And if you're in the military, you ain't got no choice but to follow these orders. I really feel like that 47 could have got 4 stone cold Republicans, 4 stone cold Democrats, 2 stone cold independents, right? He said, here's the bottom line. I need deep cuts. I need results. Y'all got 120 days to do it. If y'all don't get no results, I'm swooping in like a mighty Russian wind. But it's not about the bipartisan. Look at the farming situation. But I know the reason why Kamala ain't win because she's a woman. I know this. No one's dumb. Speaking of things that don't sit right, it's something about Elon Musk having this kind of access to the government that makes me nervous. This dodge. It just amazes me how I seen this on the internet. I thought it was genius. A person that makes $400 an hour convinces a person that makes $40 an hour, convinces the person that makes $4 an hour that they're the problem. It's like rich people, they're convinced that we're the problem. We're the ones that suffer in the end. The rich never suffers. It's always the poor and middle class, the people that lost their jobs. Even though when you break it down in a fraction and decimal point, it's a small number, like 2.1. But then when you say that it's 1,000 people, it sounds horrible. But then when you add the other people from the Midwest, I think it was, I don't know if it was 8,000, but it's some, these are people that are unemployed. This man got special privileges. He walking around the White House like he got a key card blowing snot bubbles like he belonged there. This man is tied to apartheid. And he's giving an opinion like this man has been a U.S. senator for 10 to 15 years. On paper, cutting government waste sounds like common sense. Yeah, fraud, waste, and abuse, yeah, shut it down. No argument there. But this joint sounds like Project 2025. Now, 47 swear that he never read Project 2025. He even disavowed it, but I just don't believe it. To the families of the Tuskegee Airmen, if they scrub and get rid of them in the training videos, you could be looked at as trash. If you're a racist person, you need to get over yourself and realize that the bottom line is black people was looked at as property. And you can say that it was 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, 60 years ago. But guess what? It didn't happen to you. And that's a lot of stuff to get through. Redlining, the Jim Crow era, then you talking about people trying to find out who they were as individuals. Then you talking about people trying to learn how to treat men and women as human beings within their own race, women raising children by themselves. Because guess what? When they sent the man to the other place and they separate the family, that had a lasting effect. While you around here acting, oh, slavery was 500 years ago. And guess what? For the overly educated black people that's been told for 20, 30 years that you overqualified, which is a real thing, that you can't relate to because you around here coming up with all these lawsuits, but you ain't thinking about that. Affirmative action, DEI, this stuff is just supposed to at least keep people honest on a human level. With no restriction, no rules, it's the Wild West because cats just gonna do what they wanna do and not have no checks and balances. But again, you won't understand that because you refuse to relate. All you hear is a bunch of complaining from black people. Folks screaming about woke and merit-based don't even follow their own rules. They love the ideal of fairness until fairness means somebody else gets a shot. They tell us to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, but their whole existence is built on bootlegged advantages. Legacy admissions, inheritance, good old boy networks. That ain't merit, that's privilege with a fresh coat of paint. And if you bring that up, suddenly they forget how to read. Suddenly history don't count. Suddenly you're the problem for noticing. So everything woke must go because they know deep down if the playing field was really fair, half of them wouldn't even be in the game.